Just 2 days ago, he was swearing he'd never forgive her. And now, here he is, gently holding her hand, walking her down the aisle. The crowd cheers, seeing them as a perfect match destined to be together. But what no one knows is, it's all a sham. This marriage is fake, a strategy to fight for custody of his late sister's son. It turns out that just last night, Ferit and Dennis learned that the car crash that killed their nephew's parents wasn't an accident. A mechanic finds evidence that the brake lines were deliberately tampered with. Obviously, someone had deliberately murdered them. Ferit's gut tells him this has Hakan's fingerprints all over it. Ferit breaks into Hakan's house in a rage, throwing punches before uttering a single word. He's convinced Hakan is guilty, and that's all that matters. Thankfully, Denise manages to hold him back just in time. Otherwise, Hakan might not have lasted 5 seconds. The whole series could have ended right there. In any case, Hakan is the culprit, but instead of confessing, he plays the victim, accusing them of insanity and swearing he's innocent. Demet defends her husband, refusing to believe he could kill her brother and sister-in-law. She has no idea she's being deceived too. As the shouting escalates, Nazli rushes in, desperate to find Bulu. Half an hour earlier, in a calculated act of revenge against Demet, Nazli's sister anonymously mailed Hakan proof of his wife's abortion. The moment Hakan saw the letter, he flew into a rage. Becoming a father had always been his dream, and having a biological child meant everything to him. He lashed out at his wife, screaming at her for making such a decision without even telling him, shouted that he would kill her. Terrified by what he heard, little Bulat locked himself in a room and called Nazli for help. It wasn't until Nazli arrived that the fear in his eyes began to fade. Now, with Ferit and Dennis by his side, Bulut's panic gives way to a sense of safety. Ferit worries that the child will be in danger, living with a murderer, so he insists on taking Bulut away. Hakan accuses them of slandering him, saying he has never committed any crime. Ferit doesn't believe him at all, and threatens to find evidence against Hakan and put him behind bars. This shakes Demet's confidence. That night, she asks her husband if he really killed her brother and sister-in-law. Hakan hands her a surgical knife, grabs her hand, and presses it against his own artery, swearing he absolutely didn't do it. Demet believes him, but is also shaken by how terrifying he is. To calm him down, she lies that she still loves him, saying the miscarriage happened only because she wasn't ready to become a mother and wanted to focus on her career first. Meanwhile, the police launch a new investigation into the car accident. After reviewing the mall surveillance footage from the day Bulut's parents died, they vaguely see a man working on something under the car. However, due to the camera angle, the man's face is not captured. A day later, they learn that a mall worker claimed to have witnessed the scene. Ferit immediately sets off for the worker's residence. But before he can get close to the house, several gunshots ring out. After the shooting stops, Ferit rushes inside and finds 2 people who have been shot. One is the man who cut the brake lines, and the other is a worker who still seems barely breathing. Ferit tries to get more clues from the worker, but before he can finish speaking, he dies. However, after the police finish investigating the crime scene, they claim it might be a gang-related shootout and say further investigation is needed. Hakan seizes this opportunity to protest, shouting, "Just because of these 2 thugs, am I supposed to bear the false accusation of murder?" Ferit is already furious about losing the crucial leads, but Hakan's words and actions provoke him even more, making him want to tear Hakan apart on the spot. Eventually, the police restrain Ferit, and he reluctantly lets Hakan go. In reality, this is all part of Hakan's scheme. The 2 men who died were arranged by him to be killed by his henchmen, allowing him to frame others and erase his own evidence. Since Hakan appears innocent in everyone's eyes, Ferit has no legal grounds to keep Bulut with him. Demet not only takes the boy away again under the pretense of custody, but also threatens Ferit, forbidding him from seeing Bulut in the future. Ferit can't stand it any longer and is determined to regain custody. In the middle of the night, Ferit approaches Nazli with a shocking proposal. He wants to marry her. Nazli is so stunned that her mind goes completely blank, and she can't find the words to respond. Ferit quickly explains it's just a strategic deal to regain custody of Bulut. He hasn't forgiven her, but the lawyer says his chances improve if he's married. And the most convincing candidate for a sudden marriage is Nazli. After all, they were caught dancing together, and everyone assumed they were a couple. We merely pretend to be a loving couple in public, but privately, we keep our lives separate and don't interfere with each other. Faced with Ferit's contract marriage proposal, Nazli neither accepts nor refuses. Although she wants to get Bulut out of the suspect's house, she doesn't want to tell any more lies. Lying is exhausting, and she's not confident she can convincingly play the part of a loving wife. In the end, Ferit gives her one day to think it over and promises to ask again tomorrow night. The next day at noon, Bulut runs out of school and heads to Nazli's restaurant alone. Dennis asks why he's skipping class. Bulut says the teacher assigned homework to write about his family and home. But Aunt Demet's house isn't really home to him. He doesn't like it there. Seeing the boy grow more upset, Nazli's friend quickly changes the subject. Since you're skipping class, you'll have to help out in the kitchen. The little boy puts on an apron and cooks alongside Nazli. As he stirs eggs, he beams proudly. I'm pretty good, right? Suddenly, Nazli's friend enters the kitchen and calls out, "Your aunt is here." Bulut's face instantly turns pale. He clings to Nazli, voice trembling. "I just want to stay with Nazli. I don't want to go to Aunt Demet's house." Those words hit Nazli deeply. Demet pleads, "Sweetheart, come home with me. There's everything you need there." Bulut shouts back, "You don't have anything there." "No, Nazli. No, Uncle Ferit. I'm not happy at all." But heartfelt protests can't overcome the law. Watching helplessly as Demet and Hakan take Bulut away, Nazli finally decides she will do whatever it takes to rescue him from this prison. That afternoon, Nazli meets Ferit and agrees to marry him. Her decisiveness surprises Ferit. Now, there is only one problem for both of them: how to convince everyone that they really love each other and can provide Bulut with a healthy, complete family. After all, it's common knowledge that Ferit was planning to shut down the restaurant just days ago and had a serious falling out with Nazli. An hour later, Ferit drives Nazli into the forest to a hidden greenhouse. He takes her hand and walks her slowly down a red carpet strewn with rose petals. Red balloons float in the air, the atmosphere thick with romance, and as Ferit whispers sweet nothings into her ear, Nazli's heart melts completely.
O kadar çok seviyorum ki seni. O kadar tutsam, o kadar mecburum ki sana. Gözlerini hep bana bakarken görmek istiyorum.
Especially when Ferit pulls out a diamond ring and asks,
Benimle evlenir misin?
Overwhelmed with joy, Nazli nods eagerly 1,000 times yes. But in the very next second, this jerk snaps the ring box shut. Not gonna lie, even I almost believed it was real. What about you? With that signature smugness, Ferit says this little act will help her answer more convincingly when people ask about how their love story. As they leave, he hands her the ring. "Since we're officially engaged now, you should wear it." Nazli takes the ring, stunned into silence, her heart swirling with a mess of emotions. After all, this marriage was never supposed to be real. Ferit may look reluctant, always warning her not to take things too seriously whenever they talk about it. But in truth, he's the one who can't wait for this fake marriage to become something more. The next day, Ferit calls a press conference. In front of a sea of reporters, he declares that he and Nazli are in love and will be getting married in 2 days. Nazli is dumbfounded by the sudden news. It isn't until Ferit extends his hand and invites her to stand beside him that she snaps into performance mode, offering the cameras a practiced smile. Well played, Ferit. With a move like that, there's no way Nazli's leaving you now. And he deals a brutal blow to both Demet and Dennis, two hearts crushed by a love that was never theirs to claim. 2 days later, the wedding takes place in the very greenhouse where the proposal happened. Everyone is full of anticipation, including Ferit, waiting in a tailored suit, every detail immaculate. But the bride, she's in no rush. Nazli's still worrying about the restaurant's operations and planning to buy fresh seafood. Even her best friend calls her crazy. "You do realize your wedding starts in 3 hours, right?" Nazli shrugs it off. "I'll be back in an hour. There's plenty of time." To her, this isn't a real wedding. It's just a contract. No need to take it so seriously. Unbeknownst to her, a spy in the restaurant has already told Demet all about her trip. And Demet is not about to let another woman marry the man she's set her sights on. When Nazli and the fisherman enter the large cold storage, Demet quietly follows them and hides nearby. As soon as the fisherman leaves, Demet moves to the cold storage door. Nazli, completely absorbed in selecting fresh seafood, doesn't notice the door being shut. 5 minutes later, the fisherman returns, sees the door closed, assumes Nazli has left, and leaves the warehouse, locking the main gate behind him. When Nazli finishes counting the ingredients and tries to leave, she finds the door won't open. She shouts loudly for help but gets no response, and there is no signal on her cell phone. Half an hour before the wedding, Nazli still hasn't shown up and cannot be reached. Ferit grows angry, thinking she's scared and purposely hiding to avoid the wedding. Disappointed, he postpones the ceremony. Little does he know, the timid woman he doubts is actually trapped inside a freezer at -50 degrees, desperately pounding on the door and calling out, "Ferit, wait for me. I'll be there." Eventually, hypothermia overcomes her, and Nazli collapses near the door. Her best friend, sister, and teacher all search frantically, but 2 hours pass with no sign of her. When Dennis hears the news, he asks them where Nazli might have gone. After checking all the possible places she could have gone, Dennis drives to the fishing harbor. The moment he sees Nazli's scarf on the ground, he has a feeling she's inside. Threatening the guard, Dennis forces him to open the freezer door and finds Nazli frozen stiff. What's so disturbing to Dennis is that Nazli keeps whispering Ferit's name even when she's not conscious. After sleeping most of the day at Dennis's house, Nazli finally wakes up. Dennis asks her what happened. Nazli explains she went early to check the restaurant's seafood supply to ensure a smooth honeymoon, but somehow got locked inside the freezer. Seeing how weak she is, Dennis doesn't press further. He simply comforts her, telling her to get some rest and promises to call the others so they don't worry. Not long after, a guilty Demet calls her brother, pretending to care and asks if he knows about Nazli's disappearance. Dennis reassures her Nazli is safe at his apartment. The news that Nazli is alive brings relief to Demet, but it also gives her a new opportunity to sabotage the marriage without resorting to murder.
Ferit beyefendi Deniz'in yanında olduğunu öğrenince bakalım ne diyecek?
Soon, Demet calls Ferit, pretending to be helpful and tells him Nazli is at Deniz's house. Ferit is confused but clearly takes the bait. When Ferit arrives, Nazli is happy and ready to explain. But Ferit immediately lashes out, accusing her. What lies are you trying to keep up this time? Nazli hurriedly begs Deniz to leave the room so that she can talk to Ferit alone. Ferit then harshly criticizes her for going back on their deal. Do you really trust Deniz so much that you even told him about our deal to get married? I won't believe a single word you say anymore. His words deeply wound Nazli. She doesn't want to explain anymore and only says that she hasn't told anyone about their marriage deal. Seeing her upset, Ferit grows worried she might really back out of the marriage. He pushes her harder, questioning whether she's someone who keeps her promises. In a burst of anger, Nazli vows that she will definitely attend the wedding tomorrow. The next day, Ferit moves the wedding to his own villa, nervously worrying that something might go wrong again. When Nazli descends the stairs in a pure white wedding dress, the corners of Ferit's mouth lift uncontrollably. He's completely stunned by her beauty. Even though both of them tell themselves that it's not real, they can't help but get swept up in the moment and enjoy it. Before the priest, they solemnly exchange vows and sign the legal marriage documents, officially tying the knot as husband and wife. Perhaps the happiest and most joyful person at this point is Bulut, who is looking forward to the two of them bring him home as soon as possible. One moment they're kissing lovingly in front of the guests. The next they're bickering as soon as everyone leaves.
Ama en çok ne yordu biliyor musun? Sana aşıkmış gibi yaptı.
Aynen canım ya. Ne zaman bitecek bu Hakan'ın işi? Ne zaman boşanabileceğiz?
Biraz sabret. Hakan'ın açığını yakalamaya çalışıyorum. Er ya da geç elime düşecek. Merak etme, benim de seninle uzun süre evli kalmaya niyetim yok. Söz verdiğin halde nikah günü ortadan kaybolup Deniz'in yanına gittin Nazlı.
Nazli explodes in frustration and rushes upstairs, trying to take off her wedding dress to end the charade. But with over a dozen buttons at the back, she can't undo it alone, and feels too embarrassed to ask Ferit for help. Late at night, she sneaks into the kitchen, hoping to grow a belly by eating something to help stretch the dress. Ferit hears the noise and follows her to the kitchen. Stubborn as ever, Nazli finally gives in and asks him to help. Ferit grabs her waist firmly, working to undo the buttons while pressing down at the same time.
Çok affedersin de o elin orada durmak zorunda mı?
Destek alıyorum Nazlı.
İlla oradan mı alman lazım o desteği? Bak anlıyorum gerçekten çiftler birbirine destek olmalı. Ama biz tam olarak...
Bir saniye açılıyor.
Ferit really says one thing, but means another. He claims he doesn't forgive her, but his actions tell a different story. Worried Nazli might not sleep well, he thoughtfully gives her a book to read. The next day, the fisherman visits Nazli and apologizes to her. He feels deeply guilty after hearing she was trapped in the freezer for hours. His negligence at work caused it all. Thankfully, Dennis rescued her in time. Otherwise, he'd never forgive himself. Hearing their conversation, Ferit finally learns the truth behind Nazli's runaway from the wedding. He feels sorry for her and asks her to tell him everything next time. Nazli is open-minded and lets it go, not holding a grudge. The relationship between the two of them finally softens a bit. Unfortunately, the police then arrive with bad news. Several trucks from Ferit's company are found carrying large amounts of drugs. Ferit is arrested before even having his honeymoon. This is Maroon Recap. Check out my homepage and you'll see more recaps of Full Moon. I'm hastening to write and edit the next recap, so feel free to leave a comment and share your thoughts. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.